Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Amazing Race Rewind podcast, the podcast where we rewind in time to watch the earliest seasons of The Amazing Race for the first time. Did I do it wrong?
You did. You said we rewind in time, but that's okay. That's okay. We can...
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Amazing Race Rewind podcast, the podcast where we rewind back in time to watch the earliest seasons of The Amazing Race for the first time. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Jill.
And we are here today to finally deliver you the season 3 finale.
In 2 parts, and it's definitely a long time coming. We apologize. I don't know if you could tell by our last episode, but it's just things get busy. It's the holidays, you're traveling, we didn't even have time to meet up to record, which we usually do. It's just gathering, another dinner.
We're spent. And yeah. It kind of fell to the wayside here, but we're back, and we're here. And we're here to talk about Season 3, Episode 11, Part 1. Okay, so this was an episode. Jill, what did you think of this episode? Because I know you have thoughts.
I'm just going to put it out there from the beginning. I genuinely thought Flo and Zach were going to quit. At almost every moment. I think we all did. Yeah, at almost every moment of this episode, I was genuinely waiting for them to say, this is it. We're done. And I thought, I don't know if that's ever happened since in Amazing Race history, but I thought, is this the first time that in the finale one of the teams drops out? Which is insane.
Yeah. They're at the final 3. And I said this before, but I think she needed a psych evaluation and she would have failed and she would have been out of there. Because the way she was behaving is not the way a mentally well person behaves.
I think she was aware of that too. In the interviews where the cutaway interviews where she's just talking about her mental state, I think she fully agreed.
Yeah. So aside from that, what did you think of the episode itself for the first leg of the finale?
It was good. It could have been better. It's definitely out of the 3 we've seen, it's not the most impressive start to a finale leg.
Right.
There have been some cooler tasks, but it wasn't a dud. It just wasn't wow. I don't know. What about you?
Okay, so here's what I thought. I thought objectively, it was a really phenomenal episode. Because, Flo was great entertainment. The detour was probably the most challenging that we've seen. To see Zach and Flo switch the detour so many times, all teams struggled with that. There was tons of drama. To see the character arcs come to this, it's a really great final 3, probably the 3 most dynamic teams of the season. So objectively, I think this is a really great episode. Flo's meltdown was extremely entertaining, even if you hated it. You were entertained by it in the truest sense of the word, entertainment. However, her meltdown and attitude and actions had such an effect on me. I don't know why, but I guess one of the way I watch this show is that I project myself into situations and pretend that I'm there. So I guess I was projecting myself on to Zach, so much so that after this leg wrapped up and I was gonna go watch the finale, the second part of this episode, I had to log off, take a break, and go do some stretching. Because I had to do breathing exercises because I was seriously just put in such a bad mood from watching this. But
no, that's
just the way that I interact with this. But once again, objectively, I do think it was a great episode. But I just couldn't enjoy it.
It was really good in terms of you're talking about characters and kind of that arc development and the closure. I'm just talking about some of the tasks, and more personal preference, some of the tasks I've seen in the past, I did like better. They were just a little more exciting. Mm-hmm. And I think here too, there wasn't, this changes in part 2 a little bit, but there wasn't as much as the head-to-head here. The teams weren't quite neck and neck. So they didn't always know where they were. We didn't always, we kind of knew, but you're not seeing a team race against each other directly.
Yeah, and it really was a lot of traveling also this episode. Because we have the infamous 24-hour bus ride. But
Train ride,
yes. But
Train
we'll get into all of that. I will also add, I think if I were to watch this episode again, I would enjoy it much more if I were to just take a step back. But because I think just the first time I was so in it and I was so invested, it mentally it emotionally took a toll on me. But if I were to remove myself a little bit more and watch it the second time, I think I would enjoy it and would enjoy Flo for what she is in this episode.
That's fair.
Okay, so we begin this episode with a little season recap, and it really was an epic season. Like of the three we've seen, like they've really stepped up their game.
Just a real quick refresher, if anyone, it's been a minute. So we are down to Terry and Ian, Flo and Zach, and Ken and Gerard. Which I know I said before, all of these teams had a great chance.
All of these teams had a great chance, and they show little clips and do like introductions of each of these three teams kind of gearing up for this final couple of legs. And they show Terry crashing her bike, which I thought was, they really did her dirty with that one, but you have to put it in there. We got a Ken and Gerard fail compilation of them falling off their boat, a bike, with their tire coming off and everything like that. And with the time I've had for reflection, I would say Ken and Gerard are probably my favorite team of all time.
Wow. I'm not like surprised, but that's quite a statement.
It is quite, yeah. I just think they were a really great team, but we'll get into each individual teams on the deep dive once we conclude the season.
So, like we said, we are down to our three teams, and they are first instructed. Well, we should add the episode premiered as a 2-hour finale with 2 legs. So we're covering two separate episodes. But anyway, they are instructed to first go to the Imperial Palace.
Yes, yeah. And it feels like we're really starting on a high this episode with a lot of momentum from maybe one of the best episodes of the series last time. So we're kind of being pushed by that. And yeah, Terry and Ian are the first to depart, 5:19 a.m. And yes, as you pronounced it correctly, it is pronounced way. Don't say Hugh, because that's what Terry did and Ian yelled at her. So yeah, they're supposed to go to Hue and find the Imperial Palace, which is a 100-acre complex and was home to Vietnam's royal family until 1935. And just a moment of Ian here. He's on a boat surrounded by a bunch of locals because they start on the little island where they ended the previous episode, and they have to take the little boat back to where they were before. And Ian just goes, "Good morning, Vietnam," which is such an Ian thing to do.
It really is, but it was a nice little moment.
Yeah.
This is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the 24-hour train ride, right? Yes, so they are instructed not only to go to Hue, but it must be by a 24-hour train. And booking for the trains opens at 7 a.m. I think Ian and Terry get there maybe at like 5 to 6 in the morning. So it's kind of known right off the bat that all the teams will probably be on the same train. But, Ken and Gerard get going. Or no, sorry, Flo and Zach are in second. But Ken and Gerard kind of go, no issues, get to the train station. But right off the bat, we are seeing quite some jarring emotions from Flo and Zach.
Yeah, so we get a little interview from Zach saying that he's trying to maintain a positive attitude. He talks about how he's just pushing through and like having to block Flo out essentially regardless of how horrible she's being, which is very impressive to do. Like how steadfast he remains despite Flo's shenanigans.
He is the epitome of calm and collected.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think there are very few people that we've seen on the race who would respond to this the way he did. I don't know if anybody would.
I think it shows, though, that he knows her very well.
Yeah. And we go to Flo, and she has a quote here where she says, "I wish we'd gotten eliminated."
And I'm like, you're in second. One more leg and you win $1 million, or you have a chance at winning $1 million. That's great. Like, can you imagine if, like, you or I said that?
Like, yeah, it would really be the limit. But I wouldn't. So I don't want to give away too much of what I found from the deep dive. But what she was saying pretty much was that it still seemed like they were so far away and had so much to do, and she was just at her limit in every sense of the word. And she says this day in Vietnam with the detour and stuff that she didn't even remember happening, and she doesn't remember anything that happened.
I know we've harped on this a lot, and I think we'll have to really make sure this isn't the entirety of the episode.
Because it could be.
But it could be. But it's like you said, emotionally, she is not in a position to be racing. Like, you know that kind of feeling, like, when you're panicked or you're anxious or you're upset, or like any little thing can set you off. That's her, the entirety. That, like, you almost do kind of feel bad for her because she is just like, she almost doesn't have control. It's like she's just so beyond her limit that any little thing is, I'm done.
Yeah.
Even this, like, you're getting on a 24-hour train, which for me at least, I'd be like, okay, time to rest. Like, you don't have to be running around. I can get some, it won't be great sleep, but it's sleep. But that's just not how she sees it. She's just like, that's it.
Yeah, she sees it as, we're not going to have air conditioning. It's going to be horrible conditions. It's going to be extremely strenuous. But yeah, so everybody gets to the train station and Ian tells Zach that it's going to be a 24-hour ride. To which Zach replies with, oh, beefy. And he's like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. Meanwhile, cut to Flo, who's having a meltdown and says she's not getting on the train. Like, and she's so dead serious when she says this, that she's not getting on that train.
Yeah, so that kind of devolves into, they're in the term, like, all three teams kind of sit together, which I think is another statement to kind of how the dynamic between the teams in this season versus last season is. But, like I said, they all book for the same train, but Ken and Gerard and Ian and Terry get, like, it's some sort of, like, upgraded first class, whereas like it's a sleeper cabin. That's what I was trying to say. But Flo and Zach don't, but they managed to get air conditioning, which I think is all that Zach was trying to do.
Yeah.
And then they're laying there, and then someone starts playing music in the terminal, and that's it for Flo. She has to go to another terminal, and I do understand, but I think I like to think that if I was in that position, I would just be like, I need a cup of tea. And I just need to sit, and 24 hours of sleep will be good.
This was so ridiculous. Yeah, Flo, she's laying down in the train station, and she has this thing, she says, and all of a sudden, a disco concert starts to play, which was so absurd.
If she wasn't so genuinely upset, it would be so funny. But the thing is, this is her limit. She's so upset.
And yeah, so as we said, Zach ends up getting air conditioning tickets, and Flo does eventually peel herself off of these chairs and begrudgingly boards the train. Now, do you think if it wasn't air conditioning, do you think she would have quit right then and there? Do you think she was getting on the train?
I think that would have been the limit.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. But that would be something that I would want to ask. But I guess it's kind of hard to say in retrospect. But
I'm sure. When you mean ask the producers or something?
If let's say we get Flo on the line right now and say, if you did not have air conditioning seats, would you have gone on that train?
But you're not thinking rationally, and I don't mean this rudely against her. I just mean when you're in that kind of survival, like fight or flight mode, you're just running on adrenaline, and your emotions are in complete control. So you're not thinking to say, when I say that she would probably said yes, it's not a rational decision, it's just like desperation.
Yeah. And another thing that I kind of saw that she said post race was that at this point, like, she had gone so insane essentially that she didn't care about the money anymore. She's like, she didn't want the $1 million if it was in exchange for her sanity, which it kind of was for her at this point.
And that's, I think they say, or Zach says on the train here, he just says they're going to take it easy. Like, that's, which I have my beef with, because if you're going to take it easy, you don't deserve to win. Yeah. Like, I don't care what stage of the race you're at, whether you're in the first leg or the last leg, but they decide that they're not going to push themselves any more than they are being pushed.
Yes. Yeah. But with that being said, yeah.
Anyway, we should
keep it going, because this
is a lot of the episode. Like, we could comment on this with every single, like, clue that is given out. So we'll try and keep that to a minimum.
Honestly, for the whole finale, like, it was so, I don't know if it was so focused on Flo and Zach, but to me, I felt so focused on Flo and Zach that I kind of don't really have much of a memory of the other teams.
The other teams were doing the tasks and they were there, but I feel like we weren't given a huge insight into quirks and little things that happened for them. It was just very factual. Like, they did the task, they moved on, and then it would cut to Flo and Zach at the task, which was just kind of dehumanizing. It's more entertaining to see someone having a meltdown.
Yeah. And she's really it's entertaining to see somebody at the climax of their misery. Truly. It truly is.
You're not wrong.
As horrible as it sounds. But that's what it is. That's reality TV, baby.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I do want to point out that there is actually really incredible music this episode. Like, I think a lot of love was put into the creation of the finale. And we have beautiful scenery shots with the train rides. And there's a little segment about how the contestants' perceptions of Vietnam have changed. And there's a lot of reflection there. So yeah, that was nice to see. And 24 hours later, we do get off the train and head to the Imperial Palace, where Ken and Gerard get there first.
Yes, and it takes the teams, like, no one struggles immensely, but it is a little bit difficult to find the clue box. It's a 100-acre complex. But they all find it eventually, and it instructs them to go 65 miles outside of Hue to the Nam O Da Nang Bridge.
Yeah, so Ken and Gerard get it first. Terry and Ian and Flo and Zach kind of get it at the same time. And Ian and Terry are running ahead of Flo and Zach. And Flo says, first of all, Flo hates Ian because he's yelling, etc. But she says, I don't know why you guys persist on running, which I think she meant insist. And she says, I hope you get tired out. And they say, we already are. And she says, good. I think with Flo and Zach's mindset at this point, and this is maybe a critique of the way that the legs were designed, or like that the format of the show was at this point, was that they knew it was a non-elimination leg and they still had a whole nother leg that they could make up for, and flights where people get equalized all the time. So I think they really tried to take this leg to like regroup and take it easy, where I think this is where Flo is coming from. She's like, why are you guys running? Because we're just going to get equalized anyway.
Right, which I don't think is smart. I think, like, you want to try and put yourself in the... Because you don't know that. You don't know that it'll be equalized. You could get on a last-minute flight ahead of the other team. So I understand maybe conserving your energy a little bit more than you usually would, but you're so close to $1 million. Come on.
We check in with Ken and Gerard, who are feeling good. However, they're talking about, which we've talked about before, about not being able to enjoy the locations that they're in just because they're just breezing through everything.
Yeah, which is a common thing we bring up on The Amazing Race.
Yeah. Okay, so they get to Nam O Da Nang Bridge, and we get to our detour here, which is boats or bikes. And I immediately thought that this is not Ken and Gerard's detour, who are famously very bad with modes of transportation and balance.
I'm going to be honest. Obviously I picked up the rules from watching it, but the minute I saw those boats, have you ever seen the Vine, the meme with those boats?
I don't think so.
Where is this? Anyway, you keep talking. You explain the detour. I'll find this video.
So what the detour is, so it's either basket boats or basket bike. So for the boats, there are these circular basket-like boats that teams have to go inside of and row their way across a river to a route marker on an island. Whereas basket bike, there are these bikes laden with dozens of shrimp baskets that seem to weigh about 1 bajillion pounds and kind of throw the bike off balance, and they have to take it 1 mile away.
They looked very heavy. I don't think I would have been able to do the bike.
Yeah, I don't think any of these teams would be able to do the bikes without the help of the locals. And I mean,
well, some of them just walk with
with their basket bike, but
basket bike thing.
Yeah, I think this was probably the most one of the most challenging detours we've seen of the series so far. The only other one that I remember being challenging was last season in Australia, when they had to do the either mining or golf one, was giving teams a little bit more trouble.
Right, because that was also the one that we said was kind of the first, or was it the first or second task where there was a judge who actually
who would determine if you passed the task or not. Yeah, but with this one, all teams are struggling. So Ken and Gerard arrive first, and they decide to do the bikes. And the bikes do look ridiculous. There's so much additional weight, making it extremely hard to balance. Terry and Ian arrive. They're also doing the bikes. Ian strands Terry because Ian is just kind of off to the races here, and Terry is like continuously falling off and is unable to like move at all. And she's yelling, "Ian!" And then she just says, "Schmug."
He just leaves her.
He just leaves. Yeah, because the local is helping Ian, and I don't think Terry was getting help at this point. But this was a really fun task, and it's really silly to watch people do this on TV.
It is, and I recommend to anyone who's listening to this, because you can't really envision these bikes, like they're what they look like is hard to even explain. So I'm just gonna see if you Google like Vietnam basket bike, you don't even get that up. Like I'd say if you have access to streaming this or like watching a clip, do it, because you can't envision what this bike looks like. You really need to see it.
It's like baskets upon baskets.
It looks so heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And locals are helping push and balance them so much. Teams are giving them money to do this. It's a whole community event to get these Americans through this course, which I think would never happen today. Like they would never allow the locals to help with a task like this.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's something in the guidebook about that, like to what extent a local can help.
Yeah. Okay, so Flo and Zach decide to do the basket boats. And this is where we really see the mega breakdown from Flo here. So first of all, Flo, she has the weakest, like most shallow strokes. And the thing is with these boats is like, there's a technique to do it. Otherwise, you're just going to be spinning in circles, immobile essentially. And that's what Flo's doing. She's not moving. She's just spinning in circles. And I can imagine how that can be extremely frustrating.
I think, but it's also, I don't think it's as hard. Like, again, this goes back to her mental state, which it's not as hard as she's making it out to be, but it's just, she doesn't have that patience or just kind of confidence to propel herself to take a minute, figure it out, and go on, you know?
Yeah. So she breaks down in her boat, sets the pedal down, and has just completely shut down. And meanwhile, Zach is he's like trying to motivate, trying to help her along, but it's really to no avail.
What was it? There's a flag across the river that they need to get to in these boats, and they don't realize that at first. I think they think they just need to cross the river.
Yeah.
And then when Zach realizes it, that's kind of Flo's end, and she's like, "I'm done. I'm not doing any more of this."
Yeah. So they had to get to an island, but they went to a different island, and the island that they had to go to was still far away. And she was like, "Okay, no, I can't do this anymore." And then that's when she really, really threatens to quit. And this is where I thought maybe it was all over for them.
I genuinely did too. I didn't know where they were going to go or what they were going to do.
Yeah, it was shonking to watch. Genuinely have to pull that one out of the catalog.
You know, it's a big moment when Andrew uses shonk.
It was. Yeah, it really, really was. So, yeah, what's his name? Zach is trying to pretty much just talk her off the ledge, and she's just spiraling and spiraling. And it's a breakdown, the proportions of which we have never seen in our lives.
Yeah, and it ultimately ends with them deciding to go to the other task, which goes about as well as you would think it. I think, is this the first time that so far that a team has picked one task for a detour, left it, gone to the other, tried that, left it, and gone back? Well, spoiler alert, but that is what happens.
Yeah, that is what happens. And I don't think we've ever seen this before. At least I haven't.
As we said, the bike thing looks hard. And I'm impressed that Ken and Gerard and Terry and Ian were able to do it. But it looks very hard. And Flo really does not even get more than a meter away.
Yeah, Ken and Gerard and Ian and Terry really only do it because of the locals. But yeah, so Flo, they get on the bike and immediately she can't do it. She's hardly even tried, and
well,
she
can't even hold it up on her own.
Yeah. She says, quote, "This is an impossibility." And it's hard to describe the extent of her breakdown unless you watch it. Like the words cannot do justice as to how she has completely broken down.
I think either you have to watch it, you have to have been in one of those states where you're just running on pure desperation and nothing else. Like you're so physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted that you have nothing left to give. And you're just being asked to do things that, in that moment in your mind, are ridiculous.
Yes. And I think one of the hardest things to watch about it is that she has zero empathy for Zach and what she has put him
Well,
through.
I don't
with
think
this,
she's
or what
not
he
even
has-
she's not even aware of Zach, really. Like, she's
Yeah, not at all.
basically, they try the bikes, it doesn't work. They go back to the boats, and then she kind of just has a breakdown on the beach. Like, I think at one point the camera person is asking her if she's okay, because she's saying, like, I'm okay, like, through tears. Like, she's like quite literally curled up, like, not fetal position, but like curled up, like crouching down, like, I'm okay. And this is where Zach gets pretty creative, I have to say.
Oh, yes. So this, wait, you're talking about when they go back to the boats?
Yeah, where Flo is on the beach and she's crouched down, and where Zach is doing everything he can to get them through this, and he goes over to a group of locals, and basically gets one of them to row the boats or gets two guys who know how to row the boats.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, was probably the best choice in this scenario for Flo.
Yeah, and it's so random also that these people are just like willing to do this also.
Well, I'm pretty sure he paid them, didn't he?
I would assume so, yeah. So yeah, the locals are paddling them. Flo is in the boat with the local, and she says, quote, "I feel like a dead rat."
Which episode title? Seriously. So good.
Seriously. So they complete the task. At this point, Ken and Gerard and Terry and Ian are long gone, and they're over at the roadblock, which was really a befuddling task to me.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't explain it well enough. Like, I understood it, but I just felt like there wasn't really any level, like, no one struggled.
Yeah, like all they had to do, so what they had to do is they choose a fishing platform and use a wooden winch to pull a fishing net out of the water, where then your partner would go and pick up.
Yeah, like, they're in the middle of this river or small lake. I think it's probably a river channel. And there's maybe about four kind of fishing tower platforms in the water, and each is connected to a corner of this square net that is obviously under the water. And I guess the idea is everyone pulls the net up to catch fish, but in this case, they've just attached clues to the underside. It's another thing where it's like, we can try and describe it as best we can, but if you're not seeing it, it's kind of hard to visualize.
And it's really not an important task at all. Like, there's really nothing to report on with this.
Other than,
nothing
like, Terry and Ian
happens.
do it great well, Ken and Gerard do it great well, and on the boat ride out to there, this is where Flo kind of starts to get some of her mojo back, shall we say.
Yeah. So before this, Zach was talking about showering Flo with positive thoughts, this, that, and yeah, Flo, she's feeling at peace. She collects herself a little bit.
And she says, like, what did she say? Something about, like, this first time I felt okay or felt human in all day or something?
Yeah. Because I guess there's like a breeze hitting her. It's like nice scenery. It's serene. So her meltdown has come to a conclusion.
After a full 24-hour train ride and more.
She's made it out the other end.
She's back in the game.
Yeah, so Terry and Ian, they complete the roadblock first, and they're told to go to the pit stop, which is at China Beach. And Terry and Ian do arrive in first. And it's been a really, really great past two legs for them. They've really come to their own. They've hit their stride at the correct time. They've won the past two legs. And at this point, full disclosure, we know what happens. We've seen the whole thing. I really thought they were going to take it. I thought nothing could stop them at this point.
I did too. I thought that what we were seeing in the podium right here would be what we would see next week, which we're not gonna we won't spoil. We won't give all of it away, but just you can know that they didn't win. I guess, like, the listeners could Google this if they wanted. But
And in addition to them being in great spirits, they do win a 7-night cruise to Alaska to be enjoyed after the race.
Exactly. No more Kodak Easy digital shares.
No. Okay, Ken and Gerard arrive in second here at the pit stop. And Flo and Zach are in third.
I think that the Flo stop, that just shows how much of this episode was consumed by Flo.
No, okay, and the thing is, so here, I've been starting the deep dive, and I've been doing a Flo deep dive. I haven't dove into anybody else. I've taken a scalpel to Flo.
It seems like there's a lot graphic of information on this season, and specifically Flo and Zach.
Yeah.
And you said specifically Flo.
There is a lot of information, but I've like it's just been so fascinating to me to try and get her perspective on this, because this is really something unlike we've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on their way to the pit stop, Flo is saying she's feeling rejuvenated, and she has a quote here that the only thing keeping me sane is this Diet Coke, as she sips a can of Diet Coke in the back of a cab. Yeah. So they do end up in third, and she says, yeah, she's feeling rejuvenated, she's feeling good now. And Zach says that he feels confident that they can win the race, and Flo says she will never threaten to quit again. And at this point, they seem to be doing a little bit better going into the final leg. But yeah, this was the second time they've been saved by a non-elimination sort of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so that concludes the part 1 of the finale. So yeah, we have a lot to say about part 2, and about the winners, and about what transpires here, and even more on the deep dive, which will be coming up.
And if you have anything you would like us to cover in the deep dive, please send it to us, amazingracerewind@gmail.com. Or if you just want to talk to us, ask us questions, correct us, tell us something, amazingracerewind@gmail.com.
Yeah, any additional information we love. Anything that maybe might be a little bit more difficult to find that you just have off the top of your head because maybe you were there when season 3 was airing. We sure were not. Let us know.
We will see you guys next week with the final episode.
Bye.
Bye.